Let's be real. Some women look like a dream, but leave you feeling like a disaster. You're not losing your mind. You're just being drained, and deep down, you know it. In this video, I'll show you 6 signs she's not who you think she is, and how to protect your peace like a real man should. Let's get into it. Signs 1. She feeds on drama like it's oxygen. So how do you spot her? The woman who looks like peace but lives for chaos? Start by watching what happens when things get quiet. A high-value woman rests in calm, but a low-value woman, she suffocates in it. She doesn't feel alive unless something's burning. If the relationship is too peaceful, too steady, she'll start a fight. Over nothing. Over a look, a tone, a memory she twisted in her own head. She'll pick the most innocent moment, twist your words, question your loyalty, then withdraw just to see if you'll chase. And if you do, she smiles. Not because she's happy, but because she's in control. This is an accident. She's not confused. She's not sensitive. She's testing you, testing how much of your peace she can break. Before you give in and start dancing to her emotional rhythm, she might say things like, "I just like a little drama." It keeps things interesting. Nice guys are boring. You're too calm. Where's the fire? But brother, that's not fire. That's dysfunction. And here's where it gets dangerous. You start walking on eggshells. You censor your words. You hesitate before speaking. Not because you're unsure of yourself, but because you're scared of setting her off. That's not love. That's survival. And the longer you stay, the more you begin to lose yourself trying to manage her emotions. You stop leading. You start reacting. You become the man who's constantly fixing fires he didn't start. But here's the Stoic truth. You don't owe anyone your peace. You don't have to earn calm through chaos. You can walk away. And when you do, she'll either panic and chase, or disappear and blame. Either way, you win. Because real men don't fight to keep storms alive. They build their lives on solid ground. If she can't live without drama, she shouldn't be living in your world. Signs 2. She's addicted to attention, and it's never enough. You gave her everything. Your loyalty, your time, your energy, your focus. And still, it wasn't enough. Because this kind of woman isn't looking for love. She's chasing attention. And the scary part is, she doesn't even know how to stop. At first, you think, she just likes to look good. She's confident. But slowly, you start to feel something deeper. Like you're always competing. Not with another man, but with a screen, a following, a virtual crowd that never leaves. She posts a new picture. It's revealing but tasteful. The caption is vague, just enough to spark curiosity. The comments roll in. Heart emojis. Fire. You're so fine. And when you speak up, she laughs. It's just Instagram. You're overreacting. You're insecure. No, you're not insecure. You're aware. Because a man who knows his worth can feel when it's being devalued. And here's the hard truth. She doesn't need your eyes. She needs everyone's. She's performing, not connecting. She needs to be seen, constantly. And the second the spotlight dims, she starts seeking it again. From anyone, anywhere. You'll feel it. That quiet ache in your chest when she gets more excited about likes than your presence. When she's more responsive to her phone than your voice. When she smiles wider for strangers than she does for you. That's when it hits you. You're not her priority. You're her background. A high-value woman doesn't need a stage. She builds intimacy in private, not for show. She doesn't chase validation. She carries self-respect. And she respects yours, too. But this one, she'll post a picture for world and leave you starving for attention at home. She'll fish for compliments while ignoring the man who stood by her side. And the longer you stay, the more invisible you become. You're not crazy for wanting to feel seen. You're not weak for wanting to matter. You're a man, and your presence should never be treated like a placeholder. So ask yourself, are you her partner or just her audience? Signs 3. She has zero accountability and you become the blame. You start noticing a pattern. Something goes wrong, and somehow, it's always your fault. She forgot to pay the bill? It's because you distracted her. She snapped at you in public? It's because you made her feel ignored. She cheated? It's because you were too emotionally distant. At first, you try to make sense of it. You tell yourself, maybe I could have done better. You take the blame. You hold the guilt. But deep down, something feels off. You're constantly apologizing. Not because you did something wrong, but because it's easier than dealing with the emotional backlash. That's not accountability. That's manipulation wearing a mask of victimhood. A woman like this doesn't learn. She doesn't grow. She just deflects. Every failure, every mistake, every moment of poor judgment gets assigned to someone else. And you, the man trying to hold everything together, become her favorite excuse. She breaks things and says you dropped them. She burns bridges and says you lit the match. She creates chaos and blames your silence for not stopping it. And here's the dangerous part. If you're a man who leads with empathy, you'll start questioning your own reality. You'll replay conversations. You'll wonder if you were too cold, too intense, too much. You'll carry the emotional weight of her immaturity. But you can't fix what she won't even admit is broken. A high-value woman, she owns her part. She reflects. She says, that was on me. She makes mistakes, but she grows from them. A low-value woman, she repeats her mistakes and rewrites the story to make you the villain. And if you stay in that dynamic, you'll spend your days walking through her messes, carrying her damage like it's your own. But listen closely. You are not her project. You are not her therapist. You are not her emotional punching bag. You are a man, and you deserve a relationship built on mutual responsibility, not guilt trips and shifting blame. So ask yourself, are you growing together or just getting blamed alone? Signs 4. She uses emotional manipulation to control you. She doesn't yell. She doesn't scream. She doesn't slam doors or throw tantrums. But somehow, you still feel like the bad guy, like you've done something wrong, even when your conscience is clean. That's the silent power of emotional manipulation. It's not loud. It's quiet. It's strategic. She doesn't tell you what she wants. She makes you guess. She doesn't say she's hurt. She gives you the cold shoulder. She doesn't ask you to stay home. She just looks disappointed when you don't. And suddenly you're canceling plans, changing your tone, rewriting your choices, not because they're wrong, but because you're afraid of triggering that shift in her energy. You tell her, I'm seeing the guys on Saturday. She smiles and says, sure, have fun. But when the day comes, she's distant. She's quiet. She posts something cryptic. And now you're the one pacing, wondering if you should stay, wondering if you're being selfish. That's not communication. That's control. You start to believe that peace only comes when you sacrifice your freedom. You stop setting boundaries because they come with punishment. You start walking on emotional eggshells, avoiding tension at all costs. But here's what you don't realize. Every time you give in, you reinforce her power. You teach her that guilt works, that she doesn't need to ask. She just needs to pull back, and you'll come running. A woman like that isn't looking for connection. She's looking for control. And she's mastered the art of making you feel like it's all your fault. But a high-value woman, she speaks up. She doesn't punish. She doesn't manipulate. She builds trust by being direct, not by turning silence into a weapon. If you find yourself constantly confused, constantly apologizing, constantly adjusting who you are just to keep things calm, you're not in love. You're being managed. And a Stoic man doesn't beg for peace. He creates it by refusing to play emotional games. You weren't made to guess. You were made to lead. And any woman who's right for you will value that, not weaponize your empathy. Signs 5. She has no long-term vision, and you become the plan. At first, it seems fun. She's spontaneous, carefree, always down for an adventure. She lives in the moment. No schedules, no structure, no stress. And for a while, that energy is contagious. It feels like freedom. But soon, You start to notice what's behind the curtain. She's always spending, but never budgeting. She jumps from job to job, chasing excitement, but never building anything solid. She says things like, I just go with the flow. But brother, the flow leads nowhere. You start talking about the future. She changes the subject. You bring up saving, building, investing. She laughs it off. Why worry so much? We're young. Let's just enjoy life. Money isn't everything. But when the bills come due, when responsibilities show up, when real life demands real structure, she leans on you. You become the backup plan, the cushion, the one who's supposed to hold everything together, while she avoids commitment to anything, especially growth. And if you try to encourage her, if you suggest direction, discipline, or vision, she resists. She accuses you of trying to change her. She confuses accountability with control. Here's what most men don't realize until it's too late. A woman with no direction in her own life cannot help you build yours. She'll drain your momentum. She'll challenge your focus. She'll depend on your drive because she refuses to develop her own. And in the end, love won't be enough because relationships aren't just about feelings. They're about alignment, shared values, shared goals, a shared future. If she fears discipline, if she mocks structure, if she treats purpose like a prison, she won't rise with you. She'll weigh you down. A Stoic man builds with intention, and the woman beside him, she's not a passenger. She's a partner. She doesn't just dream. She plans. She doesn't just exist. She grows. So ask yourself, are you with someone who's building with you, or someone who expects you to carry it all? Sign 6. She competes with masculinity instead of respecting it. At the beginning, you think she's strong, confident, independent, and she is, but something feels off, because the moment you try to lead, she pushes back, not with questions, but with challenges, not with trust, but with resistance. You say, I've got this. She responds, I don't need a man to do anything for me. You make a decision, and she labels it controlling. You set a boundary, and now you're toxic. You try to protect, to provide, to guide, and suddenly, your masculinity is the problem. But here's the truth she won't admit. She doesn't just resist masculine leadership. She resents it. Maybe she was hurt before. Maybe she saw men abuse power. Maybe she's been taught that being in control is the only way to feel safe. But whatever the reason, the result is the same. She's not looking for a partner. She's looking for power. And you start shrinking, not because you've changed, but because you're trying not to trigger her. You speak softer. You hesitate to lead. You second-guess yourself in your own home. But a Stoic man knows. Masculinity isn't something to be ashamed of. It's not aggression. It's not dominance. It's discipline. It's direction. It's calm in the chaos. A real woman doesn't fight that. She honors it. She doesn't try to beat your strength. She leans into it. Because true connection isn't a tug-of-war. It's two people pulling in the same direction. So, if you constantly feel like you're in a battle, if your presence feels like a threat instead of a gift, if being a man in your relationship feels like walking on a minefield, then it's time to be honest. You don't need a rival. You need a woman who sees your strength and respects it. Because the right woman doesn't compete with your masculinity. She amplifies it. Stay stoic. Stay sharp. Not every woman is worth your peace. Not every connection deserves your loyalty. As a man, your time, your focus, your purpose, they are sacred. Guard them. Lead with strength. Love with clarity. And never, ever shrink to fit someone else's comfort. You weren't made to beg for respect. You were built to command it. Stay stoic. Stay grounded. And above all, never settle.